Hello and welcome to part 4 of the shield making video series that I've been working on for the past couple months. It's been a wonderful process, but definitely time consuming, and that's why I'm making these videos, hoping that by going through all of this stuff it'll make it a little bit easier for anybody trying to tackle making their own shields. This video in particular is going to be just about putting the rawhide edge on the actual shield. So I'm going to go over some of the stuff that you're going to need, and then just kind of put the rawhide on the shield. And at some point I'll probably speed it up so it's not taking forever, because the whole process from start to finish usually takes about an hour. So some of the things that you're going to need, obviously, rawhide. You're going to need rawhide. You can buy strips of rawhide already pre-cut, pre-made. They can get a little pricey. We have always just used dog bones. There's all different types of brands, but usually you want the big ones between the 9 and 10 inches or the 11 inches. I don't think I've ever seen them bigger than this, but these are the dog bones that we've been using. They're perfect for what we're doing, and you usually need about 2 bones for one shield. So you'll need the rawhide. You need a really good pair of shears. These guys are heavy duty. I've also used like metal snips, because the rawhide's going to be real difficult to cut through. But just any really tough pair of shears. Leather punch will make things a whole lot easier. You can get this on Amazon, or I found them at Michael's or any craft store. Artificial sinew is what we use to sew the pieces together. It lasts really long, really good. You don't want to use any type of fabric or cotton thread or anything like that, because I feel like it'll be too brittle, I guess, once everything is done. The sinew lasts way longer. I have a couple different size needles here. If you're not really good with sewing, I would say get a bigger needle. It might be a little bit easier to work with. I have a smaller needle too. That's kind of easier for me to weave in and out of all the holes that we're going to make. And then once you put the actual rawhide on the shield, I buy 2-inch binder clips. And the 2-inch binder clips will go all around the shield, and that's what keeps the rawhide on there while it's still wet. Because while it's wet, it might slip off. The binder clips will keep it on there while it dries, and then it makes it super secure. So I have a couple shields that are in the process of drying right now. I can show you here. So this one's already been drying for quite some time. So there's just a few little bubbles that you put the binder clips right on. Let's back up just a little bit there. So you can see the binder clips up here at the top and on the sides, especially where the actual seams are. That's going to be where most of the bubbling is going to happen. But this is going to be the finished product here. It's mostly dry except for a few of these spots. And you just kind of have to watch it and adjust whenever you need to. But this in particular shield has turned out amazing. I worked with one of our other members last night putting it together. You can see the back side is done. If you saw the last video, I went over the handle making a little bit. I went over putting on the boss. So all of this is done, and you can see this one, the rawhide is a whole lot more even. Maybe not so much on the back, but definitely on the front. It's very even on the front. It looks really good. The design's really good, so really proud of this one. So hopefully this shield that I'm going to be doing on camera will also turn out as good as this one. And if not, that's okay, because every shield is different, and we're going to be beating them up with swords anyway. So the first step of putting rawhide on the shield is soaking the rawhide so it's malleable. I've soaked it after a couple hours. It's usually good, but the last couple of times I've done this, and it could just be because it's cold, I've had to soak it overnight. So I have some rawhide here that's already been soaking overnight. This was one of the bones, and I've unraveled it. This one I just started unraveling, and then I was like, you know what, I should make a video of this, so I'm making a video. But you want to just unravel the bone. Warning, if you are doing this, they do smell kind of funny. So if you want to get gloves, like latex gloves or cleaning gloves, or just any type of glove, you can do that. Or just wash your hands really, really good afterwards, because it'll smell a little funky for a while. So this one is good. And you'll notice that there's a core inside. These guys are good for any patchwork. So I've kept these. Like, that's perfect. Like that's perfect for a patch, just in case. If this rawhide does break, it's super easy to fix. And that's what I love about putting this rawhide together. I've seen the rawhide actually stitched into the shield, and there is some archaeological evidence of having holes on the edge of the shield, and we're not sure if that was for leather brackets or metal brackets, or stitching the shield actually onto, or stitching the leather or rawhide actually onto the rim of the shield. We're not really sure. So this has worked for us, and it's cost effective. It's not too labor intensive. It's pretty easy. So here we have a strip of rawhide. Turned out pretty good. And like I said, you'll probably need 2 bones for 1 shield. Now this rawhide in particular is pretty thin. This rawhide is way thicker. So what I might actually do, and because this is the thicker of the rawhide, it might be easier to re-soak this rawhide, so I might save this for a different project, because this rawhide in particular actually had 2 layers, and they're a little bit thinner, but they'll definitely work for what we're doing. So I'm going to cut this in half as best as I can, and then cut this one in half as best as I can, and then that'll give us 4 strips. And like I said, you will want some pretty heavy duty scissors here. Kind of stretch it out, get it to lay kind of flat. I personally like the thinner pieces of rawhide because they're way easier to work with, but they probably won't last as long. And that's okay, because if the rest of the shield is completely intact, it really doesn't take that long to just put new rawhide on there. So that's pretty even, pretty straight. So I'm going to cut that in half. And this one has a little bit of a chunk torn out there. So I'm going to see if we need all of this. And just kind of continue with the next steps and see if it works, see if it doesn't work, see what we can do. And then continue. So it's a little difficult because the rawhide does kind of fold all over the place, and so you want to kind of hold it as flat as possible. If you have somebody else that can give you a hand, it might be a little bit easier, but I try to hold it half in my thumb and forefinger, and then the other half with my other 2 fingers under here. And if it's not totally straight, that's okay. So here where it's a little wrinkly, you want to make sure you try to flatten it out so you make sure you're actually cutting it in the center and not too far on one side. There we go. So after I'm done cutting this out, I like kind of placing it on the shield just to kind of get an eyeball idea of how many pieces I'm going to need. So just that one bone, or that one strip from the bone, is over half of the shield. So it looks like I'll only need another strip here to finish the shield. And I'll show you kind of how I do that. But let me cut this out. Yeah, that looks like pretty much all we'll need there. Now I'm looking at the screen now, so I can see, you can kind of see what I'm doing here. You want the amount of rawhide that you put around the shield, you obviously want it to be less than the actual circumference because you're going to want it to stretch. And so you kind of have to watch it as you're putting the pieces together, but I think this will pretty much be perfect for what we're doing. So I'm going to go ahead and show you the next step here.